All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Geopolitical Trends, where truth matters. Excited to be with you as always. My topic today it will be addressing some other aspect. Like I said last time, there is more than one angle to tackle this Israel-Iran conflict, and it will be more as we move forward, especially now that the U.S. is Donald Trump is going to make a decision in 2 weeks. So a lot can happen between now and then. But today I wanted to talk to you about the possibility of North Korea joining the alliance with China, Russia, and Iran, of course. But also you have to understand why North Korea is important to all this, because there have been some cooperation between Iran and North Korea regarding the missile technology. And this is why I wanted to approach this today just from this angle here. The beginning of next week, I am going to be talking to you about the Strait of Hormuz and what it all means within this conflict. Then I'll move into the aspect of the U.S. military buildup. So basically, I want to do it one step at a time. But before I'll get into this, let me say hi to our wonderful community. As always, Liang, good to see you. Christian Communalist, good to see you. OCEN, I meant you say ocean maybe. Farid Amal, good to see you. Man Bilko, good to see you from Maryland. Saleh, good to see you. As always, Apollo, good to see you. Ramzi Abdurrahman, good to see you as always. Ramzi Abdurrahman's been an avid supporter of the channel, so I'll take this opportunity to say thank you so much for your support, Abdurrahman. It means a lot. Sam Karina, good to see you. Taiwan still, as always. And AC Lee, good to see you. Here you are. Good to see you. All right, guys, let's get into our topic here. So, as I said, I will be addressing this topic from different angles. So the last time I did this yesterday was about, first of all, to highlight the historical aspect of the Persian Empire and how the events of past millennia have shaped Iran to what it is today. So today I will be talking about the key question we need to ask is, will North Korea join a Russia-China-Iran alliance? So before I'll delve into this, I want to say thank you, first of all, for your responding to the survey question that I put forth for the community. Let me get to it here just to check your answers here. When I asked the question, can Iran defeat Israel? 82% of you said yes, 10% said no, and 8% said I don't know. So, and there is a reason why I asked that question. And the reason I asked that question is because where things are moving forward. I don't know if you heard or saw the news this morning about in Israel what happened with the recent Iran firing missiles, because now they are moving to a different types of a missile. I think I have a picture. If I do some of sort of Fatah 2 that's been used, and those types of missiles have multiple warheads. So Israel sort of I think Israel gets a little bit surprised or shocked that now they get into a war that it might not end up to their favor. So, and this is again why it's important to understand, and why I asked you that question, whether Iran can defeat Israel. And the overwhelming answer from you guys suggests, in your opinion, that it can. So now, let's talk about the alliance here of the, I have the picture of right there. Of course, with Trump here, but just to highlight to you the consequences of what it means for the United States. And I'm going to delve deeper into this analysis as far as it goes. So now the question, as I said, will this alliance have the ability to withstand now sort of the actual, because this is the actual regional tensions that exist and escalations between Israel and Iran. As you all know, and it's no secret, Israel by itself will not be able to take on Iran, because Iran is not a small country militarily and otherwise. So, and this is where that alliance comes in regarding the relations between Russia, China, Iran. without talking about North Korea yet. Why is this important? Because that is the most significant geopolitical phenomenon that exists right now on the global stage, no matter how you look at it, no matter what the media says. So, because this particular alliance, which some will say, well, it's more of a tactical, it's more of a strategic, it's more of a political, it's more of an economic, no matter how you look at it, the fact that this is with the assumption that they all converge on the same objective, and they seems to have one objective. And I'm going to detail each one at a time. I'll talk about China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran to a degree. There, I am also going to be responding to an article that was published about a few months ago. If I can go. Let me see. Yeah, that was on December 2024. I'm going to copy the link and share it with you in the chat box. That's for your own reading for later on. And the point of doing this is to highlight to you how they are manipulating the narrative. Once again, if you know what to look for in a wording, it'll make perfect sense to you. So I'm going to be reacting to some of their statements and sort of call them on it. This article, by the way, was published by the Carnegie Endowment. So if you know anything about the Carnegie Endowment and its policies and its objective, then it'll make more sense to you why they are wording things the way they are wording it. So now here is the key aspect that I need you to understand regarding the alliance that exists as of today with only three: Russia, China, and Iran. And this one is governed by some sort of an immediate interest, because they all share a common interest, and which is to push back against the US. For Russia and Iran, it has to do with the sanctions. For China, it has to do not only with tariffs, but also what the US is trying to create for China in the South China Sea. Remember, we are already using Philippines for that. We are already recruited Australia to do our bidding, and Japan and South Korea is a foregone conclusion. So the Chinese are already aware of this. And this is what I'm saying. This kind of relationship within those three in form of an alliance is governed by those immediate interests, but also some sort of a pragmatism that exists in this. And they all converge also on some sort of their principles regarding the US foreign policy. And this is again why many are asking the questions, of course, in the West, because they wanted to promote the idea that, oh no, this alliance will have no chance of succeeding. This is why you're seeing some analysts in the West are arguing that whether this alliance will have the ability to withstand the test of the actual regional escalation. My answer is yes, it can. And only time will show within the next 2 weeks. So if we are to think about the ideological and political foundation of this alliance, even though that article, the link I sent you, the article argued that it is a fragile alliance. I don't think so. I don't think so, because the dynamics of the global order have changed, which will only force them to move forward. Of course, they have to coordinate their agenda. They have to coordinate and exchange ideas regarding policies. And I'm not saying they're going to just operate in a vacuum. But to categorize the alliance as a fragile, I have to push back against that narrative. And this is where you have to think in terms that the four parties, including North Korea, this is with the assumption that it moves forward publicly. This is the key word, because remember, and I'm going to talk about it as I move forward here regarding North Korea and Iran. But the four countries, Iran, North Korea, Russia, and China, they all found a common ground in one particular aspect. And this one is to push back against the US hegemony, particularly when it comes down to in Asia and in West Asia or Middle East, that is. But is also, they have something also in common. And that one is calling for multipolarity. That is one of the aspects of this one here. So now you could say that this has been in the works, especially after Ukraine conflict started. So, and of course, you could also argue that it has been in the works also since the escalations in South China Sea. But now, with Iran and Israel escalations going up, it became evidenced and clear that this alliance will play a role in really shaping the direction of what the trajectory of what the new geopolitical landscape will be about. So you think about it for a moment. For Russia, China, and Iran, or just for at least these two, for Russia and China, what does Iran represent? Well, for them, both of them, it represents a key partner in these efforts to shape the international or global order that is. And it makes more sense. It's because when you think about who matters in the world right now, there are only a handful of countries. As a matter of fact, there are only three that matters. The US, Russia, and China. That's about it. But when you consider regional powers, the likes of Iran, because Iran, after all, is a regional power. And this is exactly why this conflict erupts to begin with between Iran and Israel, because, like I mentioned yesterday, the partnership between the United States and Israel does not want to see any regional powers emerges as a strong player. Even Turkey, you heard what the commentator inside Israel said about the finals going to be with Turkey. He said he was joking, but the Turks didn't take it that well, because that's stupidity to say a statement like that. But in any event, this is how they are seeing it. So for Russia and China, I'm sorry, seeing that Iran plays a key role, and also because Iran has become now a full member of the SCO, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, during the Uzbekistan summit, which took place in 2022, if you recall. You add also BRICS. And you think about all this, because the accession of Iran into these organizations, some sort of plays a role, as if I am to use the term, as an umbrella, if I may use the term. Why? To resist the increasing Western pressure, at least in West Asia, and to a degree in Central Asia or the Caucasus area, because that's where Iran is geographically. Let me see if I still have the map that I said from yesterday. Maybe, yes. Sorry, guys, it's written in Arabic, but it won't matter here. When you look at about Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Turkey, Afghanistan, Pakistan, you can see why to Russia and China, Iran plays a role, and it's a major player into all this. So. And this is also for Iran, this accession, it provides that kind of not a security, if I may use the term, but at least a way for Iran to push back against the Western pressure. Of course, Russia and China will benefit from that as well. So, and remember, and especially for Iran, especially this comes after what happened in 2018, and you all know about the sanctions that the United States imposed and the withdrawal from the GCPOA, when the US withdrew from the GCPOA. So this is one of the key aspects that I need you to grasp regarding this one here. So I'm going to be detailing now, talk about China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. Liking this video so far? Don't just be a watcher. Go ahead and hit the like, share, and subscribe button. And don't forget to tap the bell so you will not miss any of my videos or live streams. This way, you will be supporting a channel that stands for the truth and objective reporting. The choice is yours. Thanks for your support. All right, so let's talk about China. Why is this important for China? Well, because Iran to China represents a geopolitical barrier to potential US sort of expansion in Central Asia, in addition to the Gulf. So you think about, when you think about geopolitics, of course, you have to think about strategic interests. That is what's important. And in addition to being, for example, an important ally, this is Iran to China, it will be an important ally for China in protecting the vital energy sources. And that energy sources, not just in West Asia, but across Asia. Because remember, China purchased a lot of energy from Iran, because China will also have to ensure access to energy sources. And this is something I'm going to delve into much more deeper next week when I talk about the Strait of Hormuz. So for now, I just want to focus on the big picture regarding China vis-a-vis Iran. So, and this mutual benefits between Iran and China, okay, this one is because, again, Iran's geopolitical position enhances the Chinese tactical importance. Just think about it. So, because to Chinese, if I were to advise the Chinese government, I would say you're going to have to think in those terms of looking at Iran as a bargaining chip. This is nothing wrong with that. It's just you have to think about your own national strategic interests. Iran will be thinking about that, so does China. And this is why, if you are to look at him, and this is where I disagree with that assessment by the Carnegie Endowment when they put this article saying that if China goes with this argument of thinking of Iran as a bargaining chip, that means they can disregard it. I don't think so, because China understands the role of Iran in this part of the world, West Asia. So, and this is why China is cautiously moving forward, given also the link between Iran and Russia. Because also China has to think about its own strategic interest, especially when you consider the military cooperation that exists between Russia and Iran. Yeah, you can't ignore that. And the Chinese are not stupid enough to overlook this. You can't. Because any logistical move in Central Asia will have to do with China's BRI and also access to energy. And this is why China went ahead, and I'm going to do a video for you guys later on about the railroad project that China and Iran have agreed to develop. You all know where it's going to go through. Let me show you the map once again, and for you to see where that's going to go through. Central Asia. That's my point. So remember, this cooperation for Iran and China also has to do with the BRI, as I mentioned. But China has already moved forward and provided Iran with some advanced surveillance technologies that Iran will need more than ever, given the delicate climates that's going on, and given also the massive breach that exists inside Iranian society when it comes down to Asians working for the Mossad. As a matter of fact, Iran, I think 20 Indian citizens have been arrested for spying on behalf of the Mossad. So now let's move to Russia. Why is it important regarding its relations with Iran? Well, Russia has supplied Iran with the S-300 missile systems, air defense systems. This is why, again, Israel is now shocked and surprised, because Iran didn't play all its cards, which is the right thing to do. In a war, you don't play all your cards. You don't show what you have. You have always that element of surprise. And when now missiles are falling inside Tel Aviv, meaning at the heart of Israel, it shows where things are. Without the US intervention, Israel could be in a very, very, very delicate position. We're talking about massive destruction here, because Iranians have the capability. Of course, Israel has also some capabilities to cause havoc in Iran, and it already did some. But when you look at the big picture, Iran might end up having the upper hand if the United States doesn't intervene. And this is where this alliance comes in. So, and this is, of course, for the Russians, have kind of stopped short of providing Iran with advanced missile systems. And there is one reason to that. And the reason to it, because they wanted to avoid having Iran using the systems against Israel. So Russia also has to play a delicate balance, and rightly so, because that's how you approach international relations. You have to think in terms of the strategic interest, like I always say. In addition to that, Russia, as I mentioned yesterday, Russia has also scientists inside Iran that are helping with the nuclear power plants, because it was Russia that has helped Iran build those nuclear power plants. Now, and here is the thing that I am thinking about. I'm thinking out loud. So, will Iran surprise the world by saying, you know what, we do have a capability that is closer to a nuclear weapon? And that's what we call conventional weapons. So could it be? Is this the reason why the scientists, the 500 to 600 Russian scientists, are in the Bushehr nuclear power plants? Maybe, maybe not. I can't confirm that 100%. The next one is North Korea, which is the big elephant in the room. So when we think about North Korea's role in this alliance, assuming it moves forward. But of course, if it is North Korea, is not going to declare it publicly. Hey, I am now joining Iran. No. They're going to do it quietly. They will still be there behind the scenes. We might never know. I wanted just to put this out. I know nobody's talking about this one, but I am not ruling that out. And the reason for that, it's because North Korea has indeed been not only strengthening its ties and relations with Russia and China, but also Iran. And this is where the formation of this alliance, which, by the way, some in the West calling it the axis of upheaval. I will say, let's take a step back and think about it as a new global order. And all this because this alignment, for it to move forward, it has one objective and one objective only, is to push against US-led global order, because US-led global order is coming to an end. We are on our last leg of our global hegemony. So, and this is why I wanted to present this to you guys, just to think outside the box, because that's what we do in our community. We don't just follow what the media is saying. We don't just stick within the boundaries. We challenge our intellectual capabilities and go beyond to think outside the box. Because if this cooperation of this alliance between those four countries, Iran, North Korea, Russia, and China, moves forward, this cooperation, some sort of, will manifest itself, throughout a variety of sectors. That includes military, that includes technology, that includes economy, and that includes also advanced systems in space, if I may add that. And yet the all converge on one objective, is the shared opposition to the collective Western influence headed by the United States. I had a chance to write about this when I did my Russia book. Let me share this with you guys, if you allow me. What I wrote back then, and I said, or I wrote rather, recall my reference to America's unilateral decision to withdraw from the Iran nuclear agreement. I am convinced that North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un, has factored in, prior to his 2 meetings with Trump in Singapore and Vietnam, respectively, that he, Kim Jong-un, does not and will not trust Trump no matter what the latter says or promises. Trump's decision to withdraw from the Iran agreement testifies to Kim's thinking. United States withdrawal from agreements and treaties, bilateral or otherwise, shows Trump's inconsistencies. Countries around the world, including North Korea, are convinced that trusting the United States is a liability moving forward. They must be asking, how can we trust the United States, which says one thing and does another? It's a reality. And that's exactly where I'm coming from, why I wanted to address this for you. So let's dive in, dive in a little bit more into the North Korea's aspect here, because that's the wild card here. So when you think about North Korea and Iran, let's just start with the military expertise exchange. When I was in Washington, I was aware of certain dynamics taking place between North Korea and Iran regarding the missile technology. So North Korea and Iran, it's not a secret, have been sharing military expertise, particularly in the area of missile technology, special operations, and underground facilities. Yeah, that is very, very, very important to understand. So North Korea has played, this is what I need you guys to get from this, has played a critical role in developing Iranian military capabilities, especially when it comes down to missile technology. And as a matter of fact, the systems that Iran is using today against Israel, it's because of its cooperation with North Korea. I'm going to share one particular picture here, right here. And we give credit to the SAIC and also, let me see the name of Creative Commons. I just want to make sure I'll give the right credit. So this is one of the key that I need you guys to understand. So what you are seeing, the missiles that Iran is deploying, it has to do with, you think about the two ones that I am very familiar with. The one is called the Imad missile, which by the way was named after Imad Mughniya. And second one is called Qadr. Those two missiles are ballistic. Which by the way, they are deployed in recent retaliation against Israel. And those are some sort of advanced derivatives of the North Korean Nondong missiles. If you know the North Korean, and I wish I kept a picture of that, but I don't. Yeah, the North Korean has developed similar to this, but not, this is Iranian missile. This is Hyper, Kamashir, this is ballistic missile, but Iran developed similar to that. And those were because they were developed in Iran with the direct assistance of North Korea. And here is the thing, since 2005, and I was in Washington between 2002, I think, or 3, all the way to 2014. So that's why I said earlier, I was familiar or aware, given the nature of my work that I had back then. You had access to sensitive information and classified information, and one of them had to do with the cooperation between Iran and North Korea. And this is why since 2005, North Korea's experts, and he was an individual by the name of Mang Liu-do, he's the one who designed and helped construct sort of the hardened deep underground tunnels at Iran Natanz facility, Natanz and Isfahan nuclear sites, which were, by the way, principal targets of Israel's recent Operation Rising Lion air assault. And this is why those bunkers are, those systems are way deep down, because that's how North Koreans helped Iran build them. This is why Donald Trump kind of postponed the decision to use the bunker buster. It was supposed to be used this weekend, but I realized it's not going to work. Because the reason it's not going to work, that bomb can only go about 20, 30 meter down. And the structure, to my knowledge, the structures under those mountains in Iran are not built in an open surface. They are built like this, guys. So when a bomb comes down, it gets diverted different directions. So you might end up not destroying what you intend to do. So basically, it will be a loss for the U.S. and it will be, that's it. It will be a declaration of war when it comes down to Iran. This is how they're going to see it. So, and this is one of the, and I'm going to share a link with you in the chat box so you guys can read up on North Korea's involvement with Iran. And this is why I'm thinking of it in terms of what this strategic alignment means. Because this is a critical juncture in history that's going to impact U.S. interest, be they in Europe, be they in West Asia, be they in Asia, and I will go even as far as Africa. Yeah. Even though Western think tanks and some analysts are saying that this alliance is unlikely to deepen, I'll say, no, it will. It's because it's now or never. You know, in the world history, when opportunities are provided to countries, they might never get that again. And this is one of them. Yes, it pains me to say that about my own country, but my country has been doing wrong. And I can't shy away from that. You know, do I want to see my country suffer? No, of course. Nobody does for his or her own country. But when my country does a wrong thing, I will not hold back. And this is why I go back to the argument. Is it our war to go now against Iran? Why? What's in it for us? It's not our war. Iran didn't come over and invade us. Iran didn't come over and attack us here. So why are we doing this for? And this is why I am certain that as tensions between U.S., Iran, and Israel, U.S., Israel, and Iran escalates, this alliance will be more vital than ever. So, and next week I'm going to be talking about the U.S. military assets movements into the region, and I'll provide you my own analysis about it. So, now, this is where I disagree with those analysts in some Western think tanks. It's like what was in the article that I posted for you from the Carnegie, saying that, well, this is an axis of upheavals. Okay, why? Why is it an axis of upheaval? Because they don't want to follow the same system we have. It's because they have exposed the abuse that we have used regarding, for example, the financial aspects of the dollar, or whatever else. So, and this is why to them, meaning to those analysts, this axis of upheavals is going to change the global order, the existing global order. But the existing global order is coming to an end. Welcome to the new multipolar order, where the US has no say into dictating to the rest of the world. This is how I see it. So now there is one thing, all those four countries, Iran, Russia, China, and North Korea, but mainly Iran, Russia, and North Korea have in common. And this one has to do with sanctions. This is a perfect platform for them to avoid or evade US sanctions, because we've abused it beyond. As a matter of fact, the US Treasury just issued another sanctions yesterday on some entities that have been providing some what you call them, spare parts for Iran's missile technology, because now they're seeing what they're doing to the Israelis. But also it tells you right there that the US government has no say. It's the orders are dictated to it by entities behind the scene. So to me, it's problematic when you have a foreign leader dictating to us what to do and not to do. In this case, is Benjamin Netanyahu, because he's basically dictating the term to the US. And when you have corrupted and pathetic members of Congress like Ted Cruz, like what's his name, Graham from South Carolina, Lindsey Graham, advocating for fighting Iran, why? Then go yourself and fight. And it shows you right there. So, but let me continue on this aspect of this alliance, what it will do, because there will be future conflicts. And conflict with what? With the global order the way it is. So, and because the strengthening of this alliance is going to raise, or it's already raising concerns, not only on a regional level, but on a global stage. However, Western entities are misinterpreting this in a way that, oh, this is going to create a global instability, a global insecurity. I will say, hold on a second. Let's state for the fact who's creating tensions around the world. Let's state for the fact who is fueling conflicts around the world. You know, did China came over and attack us here? Did Iran came over and attack us here? Did North Korea? Did Iran? No, we are the one going over there. And there is a meeting going to take place next week in The Hague, where I was 2 weeks ago, of NATO. Makes you just now wonder. I can't wait to read the final communique of this upcoming summit, which, by the way, only is going to take 2 hours, because Trump requested that the meeting will only take 2 hours. He can't stand long meetings. So, well, Trump is, doesn't have the intellectual capacity to understand the dynamics of what's going on. He's just being led into this, go fight on our behalf, Israel in this case. And this is why I'm sharing articles with you guys for you to read when you get a chance, so you can discover yourself the misleading statements. This is why I'm saying one particular paragraph in that article, which complete lie, in my opinion, when it says the commitment revealed a clear selectivity. Russia violated the principle of sovereignty in Ukraine in 2022, according to Western countries, while Beijing faces accusation of a human rights violation in Xinjiang, according to Human Rights Watch. End of quote. Complete lie. First of all, if we are to break this down, we all know why Russia went into eastern part of Ukraine. It's because of what we did. We the one who set the stage for that. We the one who caused it. We the one who sort of removed the democratically elected president in Ukraine and placed the comedian Zelensky. And the same thing, the case in Beijing, we the one who've been advocating and funding organizations to promote the so-called human rights violations in Xinjiang. When you all know it was nothing but a lie. And this is why I wanted to share this with you, for you to have that understanding. So suffice it to say for now that what we are looking at this alliance is from two aspects. One is strategic, one is geopolitical. And they all have something in common. Those determinant elements in both the geopolitical and the strategic, that's going to serve not only these countries, but the global order, because that's the world is changing already. So, and this is why there are those who argue why Iran is being used by Russia and China as a strategic lever of pressure to complicate Western policies. I don't see that. I don't see that. The way I see it is that Iran is seeing an opportunity into this, because if it was the case, why will China bother with brokering a deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia, when we were the one ensuring that the tensions between the two arch enemies, Iran and Saudi Arabia, persists? So, and this is why the argument always been repeated, oh, this alliance will have no chance, it will have limited and calculated objectives and so forth. No, 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 no. It's because the concern, especially from the United States, when it comes down to Far East, and Israel when it comes down to the Middle East, is that the strength of this alliance will reduce the influence of the partnerships of United States and Israel, because that is exactly what this conflict with Iran is all about. And of course, to ensure the pathetic Arab leaders not to do anything whatsoever. They are subservient anyway. You all know this. I don't need to beat the dead horse here. So. And this is, again, that argument that keeps coming back, that Iran's geopolitical employment, because Iran, as those Western analysts argue, that is being used as a leading leverage in the geopolitical confrontation with the West. No, no, no. Iran is also going to benefit from this, and is already benefiting from this. Because tell me, guys, which country had the capabilities and the ability to fight Israel directly? It was only one group that put all the Arab and Muslim world to shame, with the Houthis. So this is the hard truth. And this is why the arguments or the statements in those analyses coming from Western think tanks will have you believe otherwise. Because the fact is this: the strength of this alliance, assuming it moves forward cohesively, this one's going to complicate things for the United States. Let alone, we don't even have a strategy, but it's going to sort of impact it indirectly. U.S. interest, be they in West Asia, in Africa, and in Far East. And that in itself is going to divert the attention and resources from some sort of other parts of the world where the U.S. wants to maintain its involvement. So you all know that now, if the U.S. is pulled into this conflict with Iran, they're going to have to shelve the South China Sea potential conflict, because the U.S. cannot, and I did a video for you guys, the U.S. cannot fight two front wars. We couldn't even win one. What makes us think that we're going to win two? And this mobilization of U.S. assets, which I will talk about next week, it's nothing but a show of force. We did the same with the Houthis. What happened? You all remember when the USS Harry Truman ended up being moved up north, because we were concerned that the Houthis might end up targeting that. And like I always say, in international relations, context matters. The fact that you are sinking a U.S. aircraft carrier says it all. And as of today, tell me if we had the ability to defeat the Houthis. We couldn't. Did Israel was able to defeat the Houthis? They couldn't. This is why some analyses coming from Western think tanks are misleading. So, and this is why they are saying, and I found the quote, and I'm going to share it with you. It says, quote, "Despite overt political support and joint military exercises, Russia and China's security commitments to Iran remains limited and measured," end of quote. Yeah, no matter how you look at it, you're going to have to think in terms how this is going to now, this alliance, if you add North Korea to it, it's going to create now some sort of, if we are to think only about the three, Iran, China, and Russia, let's just put North Korea aside for now, because economically speaking, those three countries will matter more than North Korea, because you all know North Korea depends on Russia and China, mainly China. But economically speaking, if we are to think about the trio, Iran, China, and Russia, so the fact that their cooperation, which we already aware of, right? You all know about the financial system, what those three countries are doing. and they are trying to do. We all know about the logistical channels that they are embarking on for one particular objective, to circumvent Western sanctions. And they have succeeded. Because what was our objective regarding sanctions on Russia? Is to cripple their economy. We have failed miserably. Europe is suffering big time. I was there and I saw and I talked to people. They are not content with how their governments are sort of governing the countries. So, and when you think about one of the most manifested prominent manifestation in this cooperation among those three countries, you think about it from the financial aspect, especially with the use now of the Chinese yuan, the currency, in trade transactions. And that's taking place between all three countries, between Moscow, Beijing, and Tehran. And that tells you the story right there. Now, imagine adding North Korea, but North Korea is going to add the military dimension. And once again, I find myself repeating this. I need to repeat it. Tell me, when was the last time we issued a threat against North Korea? Because we know what they're going to do. And North Korea tested a few months ago ballistic missiles, those ones, the ICBMs, which means it can hit right here. This is why we are not taking chance on aggravating North Koreans. And Israel made the mistake thinking that Iran, it can intimidate Iran. Iran is not Iraq. Iran is not Syria. Iran is not Libya. Iran is not Yemen. Iran is not Somalia. This is my point. And this is why, when you think about it, this alliance, should it move cohesively, is going to sort of turn the global order upside down in a different direction, where the US will have no say, basically. I mean, think about it just from the financial aspects. Because what they are doing right now with using yuan in the transactions between three countries, this one now is reducing the reliance on the US dollar. The financial system writ large, the US one. So, and also that will provide Iran an opportunity, because now they won't have to worry about the sanctions anymore. So, and that in itself will allow these countries to face the external challenges, no matter how they are. I mean, think about it. Just think about it, guys. Let's just go with the scenario of hypothetical. The US get involved and bomb whatever, and China and Iran, China and Russia get involved, and North Korea said, you know what, I'm joining you too. Just think about the military power those three countries will bring to bear. Do we have a chance to stand that? I don't think. Yes, we have some advanced systems and so forth, but I don't think so. I don't think so. It's because those three countries, North Korea, China, and Russia, they have their missile systems that are beyond what we can even imagine. And Iran now is showing Israel what it didn't count on. This is why you're seeing the distraction, massive distractions inside Israel. Of course, Israel also targeted and had some destroyed some locations inside Iran. But nonetheless, when you think about it, the whole objective of this alliance is that any confrontation with Washington will be the major driver for this alliance. That's the only way I see it, Because remember, China and Russia, and by the way, President Xi Jinping just made a phone call last week, or earlier this week, if I'm not mistaken, earlier this week made a phone call to the Russian President Vladimir Putin. If I am to think from outside in, most likely it was about some sort of a strategy. How are we going to go about this, Mr. Putin? What do you suggest? That's the way I'm looking at it. And this is why all of those countries will have to think about, of course, their own strategic interest, but also this is an opportunity. It's now or never. And that's how I see it. To China, once again, it falls back to the much bigger picture. And the much bigger picture has to do with the BRI, the Belt and Road Initiative, because Iran represents a strategic node for the BRI. Very important. When I do the video for you about the joint ventures between China and Iran regarding railroad, I'm going to detail more about this. It's because to China makes perfect sense strategically and economically, because Iran will provide the land corridor as an alternative to dangerous sea routes. Because think about it. The video I'm going to do for you on Monday about the Strait of Hormuz. And let me share the picture if I still have. We will not see it here. Yeah, this is the Strait of Hormuz. But what I was going to show you is the no, I don't have the picture. Sorry, guys. Oh, right here. I have it right here. I'm thinking about Bab el-Mandeb, the Red Sea. So when you think about the Strait of Hormuz and the Red Sea being shut down, think about it. If the Houthis were able to shut down the Red Sea, what do you think Iran's going to do to the Strait of Hormuz? And that's my point. That is my point. So to China, they're already thinking far ahead, strategically speaking. This is no different than what they have thought about regarding the Strait of Malacca. China already thought about that aspect, the Strait of Malacca, if the US create tensions there. Of course, with the subservient countries like Philippines, like South Korea, and like Japan and Australia, China's not taking any chance, and rightly so. If I were to advise the Chinese government, that will be the right course of action. You don't wait. This is exactly why, to go back to Israel, why Israel was stunned and shocked by what Iran deployed. And Iran didn't deploy everything that it has in its arsenal. I am starting to feel convinced that Israel sort of embarked on a war that it couldn't handle on its own. Maybe because the assumption was, we're just going to start it and the Americans will finish it. But there is a major issue right here in the US. You're talking about the division that exists right now, even from people who are supporting Trump, like, for example, Steve Bannon. If you know Steve Bannon, he's the co-founder of Breitbart, an avid supporter of Trump. Even for him, he's saying, what are we doing here? Why are we going to fight on behalf of Israel? If Israel wants the war against Iran, let them do it. Let them fight it. It's like you guys, you go to a bar or whatever. Are you going to get in a fight that you can win? Most likely not the case. So you're not going to initiate anything. But if you are capable of taking on whomever with the assumption that you're not going to just go and bully somebody, then you're going to get on with that. Israel, I think, miscalculated. That is my overall thinking about it. So, and this is why when you think about what China is doing and what Russia is doing, and now you add North Korea to the mix, it's not going to bode well for that partnership between Israel and the United States in that part of the world. Because once the dust settles on this, the region will never be the same. And what do I mean by this? Meaning the dominance of the Israeli capabilities will never be the same. So that this is how I see it. Now, there is one particular point I mentioned, and I'm going to end here. I'll see if there are any questions from you. I'll answer some super sticker questions if there are any. So one thing that we cannot overlook, despite what I said, you have to think on the other side of the argument, and that the possibility of the collapse of the Iranian regime. What if? Don't assume that that's just how it works. The possibility of that is there. At least for me, I am putting that proposition in front of me and considering the outcome of that. Of course, this alliance, North Korea, China, Russia with North Korea so many moves forward might prevent that from happening regarding the collapse of Iran. It's because a collapse of Iran will be bad for all parties in the region. You all know what I mean by that. Of course, we don't worry about the pathetic Arab countries because those are just pathetic. Anyway, that's how I feel about it. And this is where I see this moving forward. So when you think about this, the possible scenarios moving forward with this, so most likely you will see a movement forward with this tactical relationship. Do I call it strategic? Yes, I use the term strategic because I am thinking long term. But for now, if these two materialize with North Korea in, it will be strictly for tactical reasons. And this basically, what it will be to maintain the status quo between all countries vis-a-vis Iran. So the status quo regarding Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran. So this is how it's going to be. That's going to be, for now, the political support is there from especially Russia and China vis-a-vis Iran, but no military direct involvement yet. There are some military things behind the scenes, but not as openly as we might think of it. The second scenario is the support for Iran is forced to escalate. Because now Iran shows, at least to a degree, they can tilt the balance of power in the region. And they have the means to do it. It's because my belief that if Iran is realizing it's in the verge of collapse, is going to unleash everything it has. And Iranian people will unite. And but this is also when we are talking about a full-scale regional war. And that in itself, that threatens the Iranian collapse, the regime collapse. So now, the one aspect that I don't agree with those Western thinkers or analysts or think tanks, whatever you want to call them, is the collapse of this alliance, meaning the China, Russia, Iran, and if we may add North Korea. The collapse, when I say the collapse, it's going to be one way. And I don't know how they are describing this one by saying, well, this scenario is considered the most dangerous for Tehran, because the most likely in a medium term. Well, why will this alliance collapse to begin with? If they have the means to tilt the outcome of the conflict, then I don't see any reason for that. Because remember, Iran already made the decision not to further any negotiations with the US regarding the nuclear program till the hostilities with Israel stops. But also, Iran made a mistake. And the mistake is it allowed itself to be deceived by the United States. It's my country, but are you going to trust the government in Washington? I don't think so. It's a good idea. And that is one of the mistakes Iran made. You can't, if the US did what it did back in 2018, what makes you think it won't do it again? And that is the reason I believe why the US got involved with the Iranians is just to drag time. It was a tactic. I don't know. Did the Iranians saw it or not? I don't know at this point. But that is the only way I see this moving forward. And I'm going to end right here, guys. I'm going to stop right here. I will be doing as I said, I will be dealing with other aspects of this conflict, because I want you to be well informed from all angles, and I am not about to talk about this missile thing and here. No, all that is good, but you have to understand the big picture. And without it, all this will not make any sense to you. So let me say thank you to Army with Harmony, as always, most unaware of Iran's missile capabilities. I agree. And the reason why it's important to understand this, and thank you so much, Army with Harmony, for bringing this up. This is why Israel has insisted on the US to tell Iran, part of the negotiations, to dismantle its missile system. Iran is saying, hell no. Two things are red line, non-negotiable. is the nuclear program, which is the civilian one, and the missile program, which is out of questions for Iran too, because that's their wild card. If they give that up, it's over. So, and now Israel is finding out there is a force in the region that can really wreak havoc on Israel. This is why you're seeing, if I am to guess, next year, you will see probably majority of the Jewish leaving Israel. They are already moving out. I believe Australia is one of the destinations. Do you blame them? No. And those, by the way, guys, those are civilians. The Jewish people are civilians. We're not, and I stand strong and firm on this. I have Jewish friends, wonderful human beings. Let's not overlap the ill-conceived policies of Netanyahu with the Jewish people. There are two separate things. Yes, there are some elements inside society, like in every country. We have them right here. But let's be fair and be right in our judgments and assessments. Israeli people, like every other human beings, they deserve to live as well. It's the government policies that is causing problems for those Israeli people, because Iran is not going to hold back. So it becomes on you as a Jewish citizen living there whether you want to move yourself out of harm's way. That's the only way I see it. All right, guys, I truly appreciate you being here. I need to talk to you briefly about my upcoming trip to Asia. Seems like the funding is not going where it needs to be. I have not decided anything yet. And even if I end up going, I might not end up going to the locations I have in mind. And I just want to let you upfront where things are. So I'm going to take a look next week to see where things are as far as the fundraising for the trip. I'll keep you posted. I'll share with you on the screen so you see where everything is. And I will have to make a decision soon if I am to leave by the end of August. If not, I'll have to push that trip back to later on. And I'll be straightforward with you. One of the locations that I have in mind is Xinjiang. So now you know why I decided to share this with you, because I want to put that to rest once for all. We all know it was a lie what's been said, but me being on the ground and see it with my own eyes and report to you from there, that's just going to be the end of it, as far as here is where the story is, and that's it. But anyway, I appreciate you. If you still can support the channel, I will greatly appreciate that. Without you, there will be no channel, as you all know, and I'm very, very, very grateful to you for that. So, and anyway, I will be, as I said, I will be working this weekend on the topics for next week for you guys, provide you other aspects of this conflict between Israel and Iran and the US, for that matter. So, wishing you a good weekend and be safe wherever you are. And I look forward to seeing you next time. As always, remember, geopolitics impacts your daily life in more ways than one. Till next time, guys. Bye-bye.